Rocking Chair Session. With Elisa Di Battista and Maria Teresa Barber.
Hey, you're pretty good.
Hi, everyone.
And welcome to RCS Rocking Chair Sessions, Volume 26 with our artist,
Alex
Nunez.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming aboard. You are our official first Fountainhead artist to come see us.
The non-haunted Fountainhead.
The non-haunted Fountainhead. And we just wanted to ask, because previous to starting the interview, you said you're half Hispanic. So I want to know more or less like what your background is.
Okay, my father is from Santiago, Cuba, and then my mother is born in New Orleans, raised in New Jersey and Coral Gables. So
wow,
a little all over the place.
And you were born here in Miami, Florida, which is why we are super excited to have you here as another. I think Pioneer Winter is the only other Miami-born artist officially.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
There's like Lauren Shapiro is from up north, and like she's like that fourth generation Floridian, but up north. And I think you're only the second one that was actually born here. Eddie Arroyo.
South
Eddie
Miami
Arroyo
Hospital,
as well.
1984.
Wow.
Name drop.
And so, what memories do you have, I guess, just starting
Of your
with
birth?
that? Not of the
I was a C-section scheduled early in the morning. Well, I mean, I haven't lived in Miami. I moved back October in like 10 years, so this is really strange to be back again, experiencing it again. But growing up here was pretty amazing. I totally loved it. I went to Sunset Elementary, George Washington Carver Middle, and then Our Lady of Lourdes Academy, which was like, my parents did a number on me because they were public school, and then the last one was a Catholic all-girls private school. So like just when hormones kick in, like separate all of them, and I don't know. It was an interesting choice on their part.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and then I went to New Orleans, and I haven't lived back in Miami since I did undergrad. So I think it's awesome. Kids here are so spoiled. Totally.
Yeah.
There was no Wynwood. That was not an area that we really went out in, except for like, I guess Churchill's has always been there. It's like been there since the beginning of time.
It's like an institution.
Yeah, but we went out on the beach a lot, and the Grove. But I mean, the art scene was totally different. It's totally different. I wasn't in the know of half of the things that were going on probably, but it definitely wasn't like this.
Totally. And how was, I feel like your first, I guess, introduction to the arts? Because you mentioned you went to Loyola, which is New Orleans, how are they pronounced? Nolans. And then you kept on, you went to different places, which we're going to talk about that. But
the whole journey.
The whole journey is
There's a lot of places.
Exactly. We're going to cover the spectrum. That's why we have a lot of time.
We have to talk about Barcelona, too.
Oh, yeah. I know. Europe. Oh, my goodness. So what was the first introduction like? This is what I want to do. I like art. Like, when was the first, dabbling?
My grandmother taught me how to paint when I was, 4 or 5, and then I continued on with oils and whatnot throughout, elementary, middle, high school. And then I did my undergrad, graphic design and advertising, and then all my electives were painting. And then it got to, my junior year, and I was just only looking forward to my elective classes, and I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here? So I immediately was like, I have to go to art school. So I did a year abroad, building a portfolio to apply for my MFA. Which is wild. I mean, I always loved painting, but my parents wanted me to have a real career. So, I've continued to paint, but I mean, I definitely still apply all those programs I had to learn for graphic design. But I think my first internship for graphic design was when I realized that I did not want to do that for a career, because it was just so, I loved the creating part of it, and the confines of obviously working for somebody else, it's always an issue, and especially when you're, God, how old are you? 21? Mm-hmm. you have your mind, your vision set. So I think you have to work a couple nightmare jobs to see I want to pursue my vision. And I mean, obviously that takes a long time to get to, but.
And what type of job was that? It was a graphic design job, but what?
My first one, oh my God, was so bad. It was for a bridal magazine.
Oh, wow.
And then the model didn't show up for like one of the shoots, so I had to wear all these really terrible polyester wedding. I mean, I don't even know the name of the magazine, and if I did, I wish I could tell you. I think it was like Modern Louisiana Bride or something like that. I was just like, I quit right after the shoot. Like I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I worked for some ad companies too, but I mean that one really stood out. That was the first one, and I think she didn't pay me either, so it was like I was screwed like 6 ways for that job. Yeah.
That's so funny. And when you were obviously in New Orleans, and then you're like, okay, this is not what I want. I'm gonna study fine arts. I'm gonna continue expanding my, as you said, portfolio, because obviously to get into grad school you need a portfolio. Where was a jump that you decided, instead of expanding your portfolio here in the States, to move abroad to Europe and Barcelona?
Well, I've always wanted to travel. My father went to med school in Salamanca, and I had gone to Spain several times throughout schooling, and I mean, I've always fallen in love with it. I think probably near my junior year, I started applying to like international programs. A friend of mine told me about the program I attended in Florence, Firenze Arti Visive, and then Metafora was through another recommendation of a friend. And both of those programs were around 6 months, so it seemed ideal, like basically like 2 different cultures in a year. I mean, I would love to live that year of my life over and over again. I mean,
wow, that's
it was
not a bad year.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, it was pretty great. So I spent that time really like creating a cohesive body of work, because all of these classes were electives. So we had like landscape, live nude, we had probably like 5 assigned paintings a year, and like one was your choice, you know, Build-A-Bear or whatever, and. Yeah, at that time I really spent like honing in on like what is my style, like, and I still look at those paintings, and those are, I mean, some of them I put away. I can't because they were just really, really like really young, and I really haven't worked with oils since then. I've been doing like acrylic, but that time period was like very impressionable, at least on my aesthetic. Yeah, I ate a lot of food there too.
Really good food.
That feeds into the culture, I feel, and the experience itself is not just the actual making, but what surrounds you.
Oh God,
the buildings, the individuals, the language, and so the fact that you already had this precursor experience that was positive, I think. Grad school, as we've spoken about before, can be quite stressful. So the fact that you were prepping for it in a positive atmosphere that was giving, enriching, and happy.
And you went to Boston too, right?
So then this like happiness came crashing down into like
Boston?
like 4 feet of snow, like 20-degree weather. Like, what did I do?
I was just thinking there was Italy, Spain, and then Boston.
It was quite a jump.
Boston. Different examples.
Pakistan, Harvard.
Socks.
No, I'm terrible with that. Boston was like a big jump from that. But again, it was with the museum school.
It's a really good school.
It's a really good school. Yeah. They're with Tufts, and like the program was insane. I worked under Maria Magdalena Campos Pons, and she was like the most amazing artist I've met to date, and she kind of like took me under her wing. And I, had work up at her gallery. She kind of was. It was like kind of my first. Yeah, I would say like my first commercial gallery show. It was like a group show. But yeah, the work totally was like, there was no bullshit there. And it was like crazy art, we were studying in the programs in Florence and Barcelona, but those were more like technique based. This was like, get your shit together, know how to write and talk about your work, defend your stuff, know the 7 other artists that this thing looks like, and kind of like, if you're going to be serious about it, you have to know how to talk about it. And that's what Boston was. Like, you can't just have like bright gold leaf and glitter vomit, and you have to be like, why are you doing that? Like, this is who wrote about that. And I don't know, I think it's like crucial. I can't stand when I see someone's work and then the explanation kind of doesn't like follow up to that. So they kick your ass.
Yeah,
they do. My papers were like that big.
And I think it's really like, I remember from grad school that was always what I hated. They had to write papers, but in the end, that is what helps you out when you're trying to start
intellectual
a career,
boot
right?
camp.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I remember I wrote a paper about why I don't want to write a paper, and it was like, and then my teacher, he was so sweet, he was like, we should probably talk,
It's all right, I have issues with authority too.
I
But
like
I mean,
most
in the end,
artists do
that
on
is
some
what helps
level.
you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're drilling you for a reason. They know what's coming. Boston, okay.
Yeah.
And then after Boston, you were heading
More school.
straight
Stop.
to
No, I want to delve a little bit more in Boston because you mentioned Maria Magdalena Campos Pons, which is a Cuban artist, and she, this gallery, did you start to dabble in curatorial?
No, not yet.
Things there. Okay,
not
well
yet.
then-
But those relationships that I made in these schools kind of like filter their way to that, because you're kind of like collecting friends with people that are making such amazing work. It's not like you joined a club or something. Like, these are people that are dedicating their life to their vision, and they're so talented. And like those friendships, you're like sitting there staring like for 90 minutes at one person's work and talking about it. I mean, I don't really know many other fields that are that personal. And like, so you kind of go through it all together on these like crazy hours and hours on end of like talking about very personal things that you're making. So, I mean, from people that I met through those programs, even back to college, like I'm still kind of always like looking at what they're doing, and that kind of translates over to the curatorial stuff. It's like, shit, I have these amazing people that I know are in my network, and I want other people to know about it. So that's basically why I started dabbling with curating, because I mean, shit, that's like 6 schools. You're gonna find some people, right?
Quite a lot of people together. Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so post Boston, you flew out to and you applied to. Did you just apply to only Hunter? Or
No, I actually I was asked to stay at the museum school for the master's. I interviewed over at San Francisco Art Institute, which I always say it's my Gwyneth sliding doors moment. Like, one Alex went to San Francisco, the other one went to New York. What would that have been like? Like, I don't know. I still think about that girl every day. I don't know.
Yeah, you would be so different.
That would be so different.
You might have ended up in LA, which would have totally been a different explosion.
Totally different. I mean, like, both amazing, but while I was in Boston, I mean, I totally loved and respected, but that was like my time to like keep my head down and work my ass off. So like I wasn't really like experiencing all the nightlife and all of that. I would go like almost every 2 or 3 weeks on the Chinatown bus, Lucky Star, $15 bus to New York, and like go stay at my friends' places, and God love them. It was like all the time. And basically I was like, what the hell am I doing? So I got into Hunter as well, and Hunter was like amazing. I walked in there and I was just like, oh my God, these studios are huge. It was like the Wild West. We were the last class to graduate out of this building that was like so decrepit, and like pigeons were living in the air ducts, and there was asbestos warnings, and it was like under the bridge by the Port Authority, where it was like so disgusting, and like buses going by, and I was like, this is where you have to make art. Like, it's so great. I hate, like, there's nothing more intimidating than like a pristine room. I destroy a floor when I work in it. It's just like pools and pools of paint. So like the last thing I want is something super clean. And like the faculty there was really like next level amazing. Like my first professor was Neri Ward, and I was like, oh my God, whoa, okay. And so yeah, I like New York seemed like a natural progression. Boston was too cold. It was like way too cold. I don't know. But yeah, I was so stoked, and Hunter was really like, I'm still super close to a lot of people that I went to school there with. And
it's a really small program too, right?
Yeah, I think like my thesis class in their show, there was probably around 20 kids. Yeah, but they broke it up into like fall and spring semester, so there's probably like a year, like 40 kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That building was nuts. It was like the students in the 80s like converted the parking garage into this like huge gallery. They did it themselves. So it was like, I mean, my thesis room was like an enormous room. I did this huge installation, and like, I don't know, I feel like we were really spoiled with like the amount we were allowed to grow there.
Of space also, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had my last year there, I had 3 rooms just for my studio. It was like half of the 6th floor.
Wow.
Because we were the last people there, and like everybody was starting to go to the new building. So it was, I mean, I was just like, when are you going to get this in like Midtown Manhattan? It's like going to be some, I don't know. I think it's still in real estate purgatory right now, but they sold it.
Oh,
it's a bummer. It's a bummer. It was
gone forever.
Yeah.
But it's such a luxury to have that for your graduate experience, because usually like San Francisco Art Institute, I mean, it was a studio probably this size, but that was about it. Or a couple of studios that were bigger. But I mean, I saw the piece that you made, this really, really long.
That's it. That
how
one.
many feet?
It was 65 feet
65
long and then
feet.
16 wide. I bought it from I bought the canvas from what is it called, Rose something. They sell like theater backdrops. So it was like nothing came that wide except for that one place. Yeah. And then it had like carpet fans underneath it, so it kind of went like an ocean.
It's like this moving, yeah. And then it was also sparkling.
Oh,
and
it had
all the colors were like.
We got like those square disco mirrors, and then we like double-sided glued them, so they would, if you hit it on either side, it would bounce light. And then about like 15 pounds of metallic and iridescent confetti, which was a real pain in the ass. Iridescent confetti is like a cellophane, so our thesis show was like 12 rooms, and people just walk through and would walk around, and it spilled over.
Distribute the confetti all over.
So I mean, I was like the last day on my hands and knees trying to like pick up the confetti because there was a huge, like, pristine color theory painter that was having a show in the gallery after, so they were just not happy with me.
Oh my god. Disruptor.
Let me just pour paint over all of this, and it'll just congeal to the floor.
Yeah, basically that's what I mean. There was no way. I got a leaf blower in there. Yeah. I've been dealing, and I still use confetti. I haven't learned.
So funny. Confetti and glitter, which I guess could come into like the inspirations and material you use. In grad school, did you always dabble with like what would be considered, I took a kitsch class when I was in college, like the more untraditional materials, like it's not oil, it's not acrylic, but like the glitter, the Swarovski crystals, and the confetti. Like, when did you start dabbling with that, and where did the desire to use it even come from?
I think like I started putting like espresso and coffee grounds and stuff really early, just to like mess with texture. I think like after I started using oil paint, I got really like obsessed with like how thick and chunky these paintings could look. And then I got really, into that like balance of gross glitz kind of thing. Like, well, I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's like a vomit glitter thing, so I would say that pretty much summarizes the aesthetic of that glitter thing. It's that, it kind of gets this build up, like you use wood glue, and so it gets yellowed, and I started working with that probably, like right around Boston times. I got really gross around those Boston times. And then I still use it now. I think I started doing more of the Swarovski crystals when I started repurposing these albums, which I think I started doing 2013. And they basically had like a hotfix on the back of them. So it was like an awesome way to get these crystals with this crazy sheen on them, and then like pair that with like classic 1970 vinyl. And then that became like a new obsessive way of collecting music that kind of took on its own life. So I still do that now, and I have like hundreds of them, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
Cool. Well, talking about the music, you have a show called Sunday Painter, which I actually got to see the physical, I would say the actual visual arts show at the Laundromat, which is when we first met. Could you talk a little bit to us about Sunday Painter?
So that show was like the 1 year anniversary of it being a podcast. I started the show February, almost 2 years ago. It's called K-Piss. It was a shipping container converted into a radio station, and it was called K-Piss because it didn't smell so great, and it was the Golden Stream. Shout out to Radio Sherry. She's the one who kind of like held my hand and showed me like how to work all the tech equipment. I get to call her at 2 a.m, like, this isn't working. She started doing that. A friend of mine had a show on that station. His was called Swell Season, like talking about surfing, and I was coincidentally like DJing during grad school, like freelance DJing. We did like throw a bunch of weird theme parties. I think we did a human centipede party once in the Lower East Side. Yeah, we got retweeted by the director. I was like, this is my moment. So we did a bunch of those weird parties. We were called Ab Fab, and like we did like Knights of Nazareth theme party, and then a Goes to Paris theme party. So we started doing that, and he's like, hey, why don't you do a show? Like, thinking I'm only going to do music. And it kind of came into taking guests on, and then I'm like, okay, I'm in the studio for like 8 hours at an end. Like, I'm sick of my stuff. Like, what are you listening to? And then the show started being all about like what artists are listening to in their studio, what projects they're working on. And then it kind of took its own course. Like we got to do it like every Sunday night, 8 o'clock on campus, every Sunday night. And then people started doing like, okay, you have an hour, like do whatever you want. And then we had some artists did like, what's a Sunday like to them, like a hangover and then coming down and then going to sleep and getting ready for the next day. So like their music transitioned from that. And then I kind of wanted a way, so I pitched an idea to David over at Laundromat, like to visually like bring all of these artists together, if not in the same room, but like in the same conversation. And then we got the show at Laundromat, and I included, I think we were at 22 artists at that time. And we just did another one, a pop-up at Soho, like this last Friday, with 3 of the other artists, and Lola Reskin from Sweat Records. So I mean, like, it's something that I want to keep doing because it's part of that, like, look how awesome these people are, look at, I mean, like, making new connections, and kind of like what you guys are, I mean, I'm definitely going to listen to like all of these, and like you get to learn about more creatives. People refer other creatives onto the show, and then it just kind of like, it's this, what are you, like a tumbleweed effect that it just keeps getting bigger. So I mean, and it's an awesome like snapshot of what we're doing and like what other people are doing right now. So
what music are you listening to right now, Miss
all
Alex?
over the place. Jesus, I never get asked that question. That's not fair.
Stop.
Well, I've been like on a Tom Petty kick. I've been listening to that for like the past 2 days. A lot of classic older stuff. We just did like I don't know. I did my first DJ set with my dad on Friday, which was like hilarious. He DJ'd the after party with me, and he got so pouty when I didn't play any of his music. He's like, play Despacito. Watch, everyone's gonna dance. I'm like, I'm not playing that song. I don't want to play that song. And he's like, look, everyone's sitting down. Like, so I don't know if you're gonna get him back to DJ again. But what else have I listened to? Chance the Rapper. I've been listening to that a lot. Solange, I can't stop listening to. I don't know, and I'm having massive FOMO of concerts that I haven't gone to on Instagram that I've been seeing. She did some crazy Radio City Music Hall thing yesterday.
She
that
did
looked like
2 concerts at the PAM as well before she kicked off the tour. Right?
Missed both of those.
Yeah.
It's just like,
they were like really, really private.
Yeah.
And,
did you go?
I did not go, but
See?
I could have, because
At least you can be upset with her now.
Yeah.
On the music kick, I wrote down, I hope I worded this correctly. If you could listen to one deceased artist perform, who would it be?
Shit, someone asked me that too, but there was only 4 options.
No, you have whatever option.
Oh, whatever option?
Yes.
Freddie Mercury. Yeah.
I said that too.
Or David Bowie, but that's not fair. Fuck.
No.
Okay, both?
Right?
No, one? Because he was one of the 4 in the picture. David Bowie wasn't passed yet. That's not fair. Okay. All right, I take it back, David Bowie.
I said Fred. Oh, okay, well, David
Bowie.
Is.
Yeah.
He's
I don't know, but it's really a tie. I like both. Can I? Yeah, they'll be together.
Well, that could be one of your wishes at the
That's
end.
my.
We'll get there.
I need like a Lollapalooza.
Is David Bowie your second too?
Yeah.
Because that would be creepy.
For sure. That would
really?
be.
Oh my God, you're so insane.
But I don't know. Okay, I love David Bowie, but I feel like I would just sob for Freddie Mercury.
I would cry my eyes out.
I would lose it.
Like if he starts singing, like
it's all those extra teeth, man. You could.
I want to be free. Like I would die. Like I start tearing up already.
Yeah. No.
So yeah.
I don't know. Okay. See, I'm on the fence. I have to answer. I'll write in.
That's so funny. Okay.
I need a follow-up.
So you're doing,
a follow-up interview.
You're asking other artists about their music interests. We're asking you about your music interests here. But where did that lead to you starting to do the pop-up shows? Like you're wearing this shirt now, this sweatshirt, I should say.
Like, I've got my own swag underneath.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when did it go? Well, obviously, fine arts, then into like apparel. You started dabbling in that. When did that transition happen?
Well, the thing I'm wearing, American She, that was I think probably 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years ago, something like that. I don't know. It always seemed like a natural thing. I've drawn on totes before. People always want like a takeaway from a show if they can't necessarily afford a painting.
Yes.
Where people want to support the podcast or whatever. So we did hats at the laundromat show. We sold those, and those were great because they covered like the cost of the show. I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know. I like the idea of wearing your stuff, wearing your design. And I think like more and more, especially with like what's going on runway and everything, like it's a direct translation of, I mean, fine art is fashion now.
Yeah, we've had a few fashion designers, they say the same thing. Like it comes natural, just that transition.
I wish I could sew. That would be just like crank them out.
Okay, so we were mentioning Sunday Painter at the laundromat, and then you mentioned you want to continue doing pop-ups. So where do you see now that you're in Miami versus New York, Sunday Painter pursuing or continuing here in the city? Like, how do you see it growing and expanding?
I think like the same way you guys are, like referrals. The more things I go to, the more people that I meet, and like just basically reaching out like that. Luckily, I'm in somewhere like Fountainhead, so I like have right there a database of like, I mean, a full year's worth of programming of people to talk to. Yes. And we do have open studios coming up on the 28th, October 28th.
October 28th,
yeah.
Check it out.
So like that's my chance to like go and pop in and like quickly like snake through, because I mean everybody's not necessarily there at the same time.
Yeah.
I have vampire hours, so I don't expect anybody to be around when I'm around.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like basically networking that way. I think that the best thing about that show is that it is so portable. I've done it in Mexico, I've done it in Montana. You can just have a phone call and still pursue an episode and kind of like check in with people, and it's kind of like sharing that check-in with everybody else.
Nice.
But you have the shows on radio as well, still,
yes.
right? So it's a live show. You pre-record.
We do both. Like the last episode was live. Mm-hmm. It's always Sundays at 8:00, mm-hmm. And then people can go like on kpes.fm or sundaypainter.net. Both websites have links to the live show, and then we have archives on SoundCloud and Mixcloud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. And you've been doing like more than 60 episodes, or?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, we're like 2 years in February. So
2 years
and
already.
I think I've only missed like 5 Sundays. So like
Sweet.
Wherever I am, we've done it. Like even on vacation.
We have something to live up to here. We're trying.
I was like, will we survive up to 5 years? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll divorce by then.
We could always do it via telephone. That's the best part about the audio ones. I mean, I'm not necessarily, it's not like 2 years of interviewing. Like I mix that in with like set lists that are just music.
Okay,
so it's
cool.
not.
It's not
that
people
would be,
every week.
Honestly, that would be impossible.
Well, that's
like
what we've been
I would
doing.
definitely need like a larger team for that.
Yeah, because you're on your own.
Yeah.
We can divvy up the load at least, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it why TV shows have seasons. Like I can't. This is not.
People need a break.
Yeah, people need a break. Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, well, I wanted to also ask you, I did mention childhood memories of Miami. Like, what stands out to you from this city versus all the other cities and even countries you have lived in? Like, in terms of, like, you know, just, I feel like what stands out? Like, those little moments.
During my childhood or the city as a whole?
Both.
I think we were really spoiled with the beach. I mean, there's plenty of other cities, but comparing it to like, I don't know, people that I went to college with, like our beach childhood, like going out and I don't know, you get really spoiled. I am a scuba diver, so I think like the diving here, that's rare. I mean, I don't know anybody else that spent like the amount of time I did with a snorkel or anything like that. So a lot of my stuff is inspired by growing up and seeing underwater life and being so close to the Caribbean. I think all those colors, like even when I was in like the coldest and drabbiest of weather, I was still painting crazy fluorescence and like that like bled through. And I mean, if I didn't have that palette, like those like Art Deco, Lincoln Road kind of like that database to grow off of, I think it's definitely like shaped the way I've worked.
Aquas, pinks, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because it leads into inspiration.
Oh, there you go.
I was gonna ask you about that, like the glitter, the bedazzle, those colors that you use, so Miami.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we can say that, and then, like, it's also very, like, universal in the sense of, like, okay, my grandmother grew up in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and then she was a trapeze artist. So she had, like, these crazy costumes that were, like, sequins, and, like, that whole element of, like, glitz and old Hollywood, I think, has always been, like, a very impressionable thing. And then combining that with, like, the gritty club kid aesthetic that you can see when you're a teenager here, those kind of bleed together in this, like, crazy techie glitter confetti explosion that, I mean, Miami is definitely, like, I mean, like 100% responsible, but, like, I have seen it in other areas, and I don't know. Yeah, it won't go away.
Were any of your other family? Because I'm so fascinated now. Because you're like, you took your dad to a DJ set, so I'm like, okay, so he was.
He was.
Music.
He was a DJ before me.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until I started DJing in grad school. He is a pediatrician, so, like, it's a major curveball. It's like he DJ'd in med school in Salamanca, and he didn't tell me about it until, like, I was, I don't know, in grad school, and it was just like this total secret life. He'd have these, like, he still has all these huge crates of all these albums that we're, like, not allowed to touch because I'm gonna put crystals and shit all over them. He's like, these are not for you to decorate, but he does have this crazy collection. And yeah, he used to do, like, a live DJ set at what is it, Sergeant Pepper's Club in Salamanca, and I was
Shout
just
out to Sergeant Pepper's Club.
Yeah, Sergeant Pepper's Club. Yeah, he's having it's like the, I don't know, something ridiculous, like 500 or 800 year anniversary of the med school, like, next year. So we're all gonna go.
Is he gonna DJ?
I don't know.
Is he gonna go back?
I don't know, but somebody sent me a flyer that he's on for, like, the Sergeant Pepper's Club. That's, like, their rugby team. And he's like, yeah, we all go there and drink and, like, hang out. So, like, we threw one of the parties out. I'm like, oh my God. They had a photography exhibition recently of, like, the rugby players of, like, the Sergeant Pepper times. I don't know. It's really bizarre. I don't know.
Really
my family
great.
is all over the place.
I love that. And then you mentioned your grandmother's tree. Please, are there any other artists in the family tree? Like, anybody else
well,
that's inclined?
Both sides claim that
they're responsible for you.
My grandmother, my mom's mom, was directly responsible for teaching me how to paint. But she was never a professional artist, but she painted it until, like, the last year of her life. So she painted forever. She'd crank them out. My mom's like, we're running out of wall space. Like, tone it down. So we'd spend, like, hours painting outside. She's like, you guys just don't talk? Like, you're just playing music and you'd spend, like, 8 hours. You get a sandwich, we're just, like, painting away. Like, I don't know. You get used to, like, those hours and hours on end. There are apparently artists on my dad's side. I was not aware of them. This was in Cuba back in the day. So, I mean, for the most part, they're a medical family, so I don't know who he's talking about.
Have you gone back to Cuba since Fidel has died?
I have not, but with Roots of Hope, Raíces de Esperanza, they're doing, I'm going with them, I don't know when, I think sometime before January. I don't know with, like, current situations with the hurricane, if that's probably been prolonged for a bit. And my father, for the first time, recently expressed an interest in going back. He's always said no. So, I mean, I might be organizing a trip with them, depending on...
It'd be fascinating to see through his eyes.
Like, that was, like, a big thing that forever I was like, I'm not going to go unless, he either gives me his blessing or comes with me, because, like, seeing those buildings is not the same as, like, okay, like, what was this to you? And, it's like a whole life I don't know about.
Yeah,
which is
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then your other family, obviously you mentioned from the States. Like, do you know there's any artists in that side or not?
Well, I mean, my mom, that's basically it. My mom's mom. Like, that's I mean, I really never asked any further. It seemed like they weren't. No, I mean, but she was, like, all over the place. She was, like, I also found out, like, after she passed that she was studying to be a pilot in her, like, 30s. I'm like, what the hell? Like, nurse, pilot, trapeze artist. Like, I don't know. They have to, like, I don't know, I would watch, I can't remember who.
DJ artist, fashion designer. I mean, you're multiple hats as curator, so.
All right, but I am so afraid of heights. That's something I could never do. I don't
think
gonna
turn into
that is not genetic.
Anytime soon.
No, and I'm such a klutz. Like, it would not
work out.
No, that's how they met my mom's parents. My grandfather owned a restaurant on the boardwalk in Rockaway Beach, outside of New York City. Well, inside of New York City, but a little train ride away. And their troupe was performing trapeze like for that weekend. I can't remember like what it was, and she's like, he annoyed the crap out of me, wouldn't leave. Like we were rehearsing, and like finally I said yes to a date, and like they ended up getting married. So
that is such a cute story. That's where it all began.
Yeah, Rockaway. And then I didn't like go to Rockaway until grad school, and I was like, I didn't know anything about all of this. And I mean, I was there in New York 8.5 years, and we'd spend like, I don't know, every weekend going to Rockaway in the summer, like taking our bikes out there.
Did you get in the water during the summer? Be honest.
Well, sometimes like it was like a soup. So I mean, I think the water was gross there anyway. Like it's gross when it's nice out. It's gross when it's hot. It's like brown.
It's not
whatever.
Like
but I mean,
Miami water.
Like,
I mean, all respect to Rockaway.
No, Miami water has a beat. Like there's no.
It's not our Miami water.
And that's the first time I've ever seen what are they called? Moon jellyfish. And they just basically look like floating breast implants. They're non-stinging jellyfish, and we did one of those like day surfing things out in Rockaway, and all of these like it looked like boobs were floating in the water. I'm like, oh my God, should I be freaking out? They don't hurt you.
You're like, is there an army of like poor? Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it's so gross. It's so gross. But yeah, they don't bother you. But I don't like the water in Rockaway. Great tacos though.
Something we wanted to go into, and we've asked a lot of artists, is are you a full-time artist versus a part-time artist? Which it's fine either way. I mean, they're both respectable. Like, do you have to work for a living, or do you just solely live off of things you do?
Well, I mean, I'm all over the place, but I consider myself a full-time artist. I'm doing a residency with Project Art, so I'm teaching kids like 2 days a week, after-school programs. I do a lot of like freelance. Like, I had a friend that asked for recently an album cover design, so it's like requests like that. I also have like a gallery, Mac Fine Art in Fort Lauderdale, that kind of sells my stuff. And cool. I mean, it's kind of a frustrating question when you didn't ask it this way, but when people are like, what do you really do? And
oh no,
yeah,
that's fine. Well, you're an artist,
you didn't ask like that. So it's like, it's valid, but it's I can't think of any other profession where people ask that. You know what I mean? So it's so cool to see that if people that want to do this for a living like have to find other ways to do it, because it is kind of like a luxury skill. Like, I mean, not everybody needs a painting of Kate Moss, like, so it's not like one of the like top 5 things you need to survive. I mean, I would, but whatever. So it's like you kind of have to learn how to do that. So like the graphic design stuff, like logo design, and then like even apparel stuff, like all of that, like you have to like learn how to make all of those other things work. I mean, yeah, basically. So I'm like 6 different things right now. And DJing.
And DJing, which I think is great. Yeah, we've spoken to a lot of different artists, and some of them, obviously, well, I know I do myself, like work during the day, pay for your studio at night. Mm-hmm. Some people have the luxury, like, well, I'm really happy that you get to, do your thing full time. Yeah. Just, teach to kids twice a week. How is that experience, do you feel, teaching kids versus if you've had the opportunity when you were in grad school to teach adults? I feel like there might be.
Well, I've done I've done like some workshops with Museo del Barrio, but like more lecture based, like probably half an hour talking to people about more like your practice. Mm-hmm. And like kids are no bullshit. Like you bore them, they are bored, they will walk away. So it's super refreshing. You don't get patronized with ideas, and everything's always fresh. So I have been enjoying this. I think it's on our 3rd or 4th week now. And I mean, the kids are awesome. And it's out of 13th and 1st, which is like kind of close to 8th Street, residency that will eventually going to have a Sunday Painter tie-in, because they want to do something like with that gallery. It's been really cool, and in New York I really didn't have any like workshops with kids as frequently as this. This is like you're really getting to know them, and it's kind of like an activity that the parents also stay around for. So it's kind of like, it's weird. You're like making art with, it's still an adult workshop, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I don't know. We had mask making last week, so they had some good stuff. I mean, everybody's obsessed with Harley Quinn. I really don't get it.
I think it's the whole movie / superhero thing, and
but everybody, boys, girls, like we had like 4 Harley Quinn masks. It was. don't know.
Pop culture.
Yeah.
Which leads me to, do you feel that that's your genre? Like, is that, like,
I'm a cartoon kid. I like grew up on, I just like face plant in front of a TV with a TV tray. Like I love TV.
Any favorites?
Like when I was growing up or now? I mean, I was like a huge Care Bear head. I mean, I love the like Snorks, any Warner Brothers stuff, like old school Looney Tunes. I watched everything. I really didn't. I touched my mic. I did use my hand. I felt it, and I was like, "That's a first time." See, there you go. You gave me like an hour keeping hands. Sorry.
You're doing good.
Yeah. I don't know, everything. I would watch everything. Gem. Gem was number one, like absolutely number one, and I think I like still.
That was a basketball with the real guy and the loonies.
No, Gem.
Oh, Space Jam. No.
That was Space Jam.
This is JEM. They were like an 80s. They did a terrible movie recently, but they were like an 80s rock band, and
she would transform.
Yeah, she was like with a magic earring.
Yes,
she was Jerica. Her name was Jerica, which is like I've never heard that name outside of that show.
Jericho, I've heard of, but not Jerica.
Yeah, Jerica. Her name was Jerica, and then she put on an earring and became Gem. But the messed up about that show is that like I love the bad guys. They were the misfits. They were like the rival band. They were all like purple hair, green hair, like the ugly ones. And I'm like, oh my God, I love all these people. So I was like obsessed with like the villain. Like I hated the main character. So I was like into the misfits. I don't know.
Well, they were Barbie-esque, I would say. So they were like like what you picture when you go into a toy store and you just get like the generic one, like it's just what you expect.
Yeah, she's pretty.
Lots of pink,
she's pretty.
purple, and then the other ones were like the rebels,
like fishnet tights. Like when you're
so
5, you're like, oh my God.
Rebels.
Yeah.
You were rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, they dressed like hookers, all of them. They were like all of them. I don't know why that was appropriate. It was like zebra and like thigh-high boots, patent leather. Like sing about I want to be bad and like I don't know why you're I don't know.
So you get inspiration from those things.
Yeah,
the cartoons.
That's definitely
it. That's pretty good. Well, I guess I also wanted to ask you: is Alex short for something else?
Alexandra. Yeah.
Alexandra. Yeah. When did you shorten it and why? And how
always.
has that affected?
Always. I don't know. Maybe it was like from when I was little. It's like a shorter name to yell across a room. I give my sister her nickname like that because her name was Danielle, and I'd be like Danielle, and so Yell became like my nickname for her. So I don't know. Alexandra always seemed too long.
Do you ever get mistaken for a guy?
All the time.
Just Alex Nunez?
All the time. Even my thesis show at Hunter, like I had one of my guy friends from Boston came and he was wearing a suit and people were asking him questions. And I'm like, fine, just like answer. I don't want to do that anyway. I'd rather hire a surrogate anyway. All the time.
And do you feel your work was approached differently when they thought you were a guy versus a girl?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This is why it's like I'm like weary about artist statements until like you've actually seen the work, because you come with all these like, you know, preconceived notions of like oh, she's Latina, she's from Miami. It's like just see the work and then read the bio. Like I don't know. I've never. Well, there is another Alex Nunez artist. He was on Miami Ink. He's a tattoo artist. Yup, that's real.
You're like, Google my name.
Yeah.
I'm not that bald.
You have to fight over that.
No, that's the other one. That's Ami. He's the one with the like spiky hair.
Oh.
And I'm sure he's so annoyed with me by now because it's like I run Instagram. I'm like, not even by popularity, just by like over posting. It's like hashtag.
And the website also?
Yeah.
You took the website?
I don't know who has .com. I have .net.
Someone,
no I've been trying to buy it for years. Yeah. And there was a skateboard artist. There was a porn star. There was.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's like how we.
You're like, I am all of them and none of them.
It's also a character on Degrassi. It's like that teenage Canadian drama. Yeah.
Boy or girl?
She's a girl.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Called Alex.
Alex Nunez.
All these great pop-up, like pop facts. It makes no sense. Okay. It was on my list of things I wanted to ask you. I guess I also wanted to go into your residency at Fountainhead and how has that changed your perspective of community here in Miami?
And also coming back to Miami, as an artist,
that journey.
And then finding, trying to find.
So I guess we could start with that, Maria. You're right. Your track from New York to Miami.
Oh, okay. So I was terrified. I mean, a majority of like I think I had probably 2 studios after grad school. I left that last studio. They sold the building, like all this. It was like the second time that it happened. And then I started looking for studios here, and I saw some really nightmare studios. And then we had an overlap of meeting Catherine. I was doing an interview with somebody for the show at the other Fountainhead residency, the one that's like in
the small one. Right?
Yeah.
The housing, the
housing one. I was interviewing Kenny Rivero, and like I think I went to his show before I interviewed him, and I literally had like the suitcases in my car that like we had moved something, and I met Catherine and we started talking, and it was amazing because my biggest fear moving here was not knowing an artist space. Like I can have my friends in my studio, but it's just a different conversation with other makers in and out, and it was kind of like a total godsend, like, and immediately I was introduced like to this amazing network of 30 artists that were like there around the clock, and it kind of like killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Of like the safety thing was a big thing when I was looking for places on my own. I work super late hours. Yeah. Unfortunately, being an artist, like you're usually in precarious real estate situations that it's like, all right, there's no wall on this building. Can you work here at 5 a.m? I literally saw a place with like a 4-foot by 2-foot wall. They're like, we'll fix that. Like, well, like after the deposit? I don't understand. Yeah, real estate here is a nightmare. So it was a place that felt safe, and there was that base there. So I mean, places like the Bakehouse and Fountainhead, like I feel are so important for people that are not necessarily like working by themselves, have their own commercial space, to meet and network, and just like even seeing other people that are making you feel a little less crazy about like being in your studio and staring at a painting for 4 hours. Like I think it's so crucial, and it's a little different because I've been isolated with other studios before of that like possibility of a pop-in and someone just seeing you like, oh, that looks cool, like what are you doing with this color? I think it totally changes what you're doing versus like working in a vacuum of maybe like a home studio or something. But I mean, social media helps in like exposing and like kind of feeling the waters of what other people are thinking about your work, but it also kind of hurts because then people feel like they've seen your work and they haven't seen it, and like some of this glitter stuff doesn't translate the same as does in person, and it's a different you can't get the cliff notes of like what you're seeing in person.
Also the large scale paintings that you make, you know, in Instagram it's always just like
it's like, oh, I thought
square thing, you know.
So scale is like next to impossible unless you're like doing a jump shot in front of one of them or something like that. But like Fountainhead, like they are like really talented people over there, and people should come and check them out. That was
October
28th.
28th.
Oh. Yeah, but if I didn't have that network, moving here was something like I legit discussed with my other New York artist friends. Like, it takes so long to build that network and that trust, and then you don't want just anybody in your studio. Like you want like people that maybe are familiar with like the past of like what you've done before. And I mean, sometimes it's great that they like learn blindly, but you get a little weary to like, I don't know.
Yeah. And who you talk to. Well, thank you for talking and opening up to us. We're going to ask you one last question, or I am, before Maria asks her final question.
Okay.
What type of final projects do you have coming up, or maybe shows or things in the future that you'd love to share with us?
I'm donating a piece for a Smash and Grab at Locust Projects on the 28th.
Fun.
God, what am I working on? Oh, Dali and I show at Mac Fine Art. It's original Dali drawings and paintings, and then work that's inspired by their work. So I'm using like a watercolor collage that he did, and then making another work off of that. That's up in Fort Lauderdale.
Cool.
I don't know the date.
Well, you'll get back to us, and we'll put your website on our website anyway.
Awesome.
So people can check that out.
Yeah. Yay.
All right, we are at our final question. And so you've been sitting in a magical rocking chair all this time.
I knew it.
And this magical rocking chair grants you 3 wishes.
I can't wish for more wishes, right?
You can.
No.
You can wish for anything you want.
So
you can wish for anything you want.
Totally.
Like, you got 3.
Oh, okay. Are these wishes like life related, art related?
Whatever you want.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get teleport. Knock that one out first.
Teleport.
More
To where?
Just like the ability.
Okay,
in general.
Yeah.
the power.
Okay.
This
Because
is
I
true.
clearly love traveling, but I just hate the time that it takes to do it.
God,
so,
yeah.
but then,
Teleporting.
that power also includes like whatever I'm holding on to. So like I don't want to get there and
So
like.
there's rules.
Don't want to go into news.
Yeah, I don't want to go
with
to
your
nude.
luggage.
I want to take my carry-on and one check bag. That's wherever I go.
Teleporting with
With luggage, with matched luggage.
And clothing.
2 more wishes. Oh Jesus. I don't know.
The Freddie Mercury and David Bowie.
Oh, the Freddie Mercury, David Bowie relief concert.
Reunion?
Yes.
Do you want to do a Sunday painter session with
Yeah,
them?
I mean, I wish I had like a musical ability to like. I would just have to watch. I can't do anything other than like hold my microphone and be like, weep. No, I can't even hold it. I'd be weeping. I'd be weeping.
you have to have a standalone mic so you could just
You
be
can do
crying.
the background weeping sound.
And then
number 3.
I guess the ability to keep like making my work and living off of it and like never have to do a bridal magazine job again.
Wear those dresses. Oh god.
Oh my god.
I really hope I find some of those photos and then I can like link those to the
That
website.
would be so. You could make some art. You could bedazzle them.
I'm
Please
sure
Bedazzle
I
those
ripped those up.
dresses.
Yeah.
Please
You
do.
should.
Oh my god, it would be
That would
so
be great. I would go see that.
All right. Well,
Thank you so much for coming to sit down with us,
Thank you.
Alex. We're
Thank
really
you,
excited to
Alex.
have you. October 28th, check out Fountainhead Open Studios and listen to Sunday Painter on Sundays at 8
Awesome.
yeah.
p.m. Thank you guys.
Thank you all
for having
listening again. And we
We'll
had
see
a
you
little
soon.
break because I had a little bronchitis.
Slash.
But this is Columbus Day. Nobody knows about that.
Slash.
But
Yeah.
we're back, and thanks
We
for
have
listening.
Monica McGivern coming up. Yeah, next week.
Monica McGivern.
McGivern. Sorry, Monica, I said your wrong.
Bye, guys. Bye.